A helicopter crash in Ukraine has killed at least 15 people. That's according to the Ukrainian president, who added that the exact number of victims is still being established. We do know that Ukrainian Interior Minister Denis Mokhasirsky and his deputy were on board the aircraft and were killed when it went down near a kindergarten and apartment block in the town of Brovary, northeast of the capital, Kyiv. Local officials also say that 3 of the victims are children. Our Kyiv correspondent Sonia Falnikar is making her way to the crash site. I spoke with her a little earlier about the circumstances of the crash.
Well, officials here now saying that 18 people have been confirmed dead, including 3 children. They say all 9 people on board that helicopter were killed. That included several high-ranking officials of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, including the Ukrainian Interior Minister himself, his deputy, and the State Secretary. Officials say the remaining dead include staff and children at the kindergarten that was hit by that helicopter crash. Now, there are reports of over 20 people hospitalized, including more than 10 children. A spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force Command has just said that a commission now will be set up to investigate the cause of this helicopter crash. We also have details saying that the Ukrainian Interior Minister and his delegation were using a French-made helicopter that was being used with the emergency services. They were en route to a war hotspot, though we don't have any more details of that. What we know is that this helicopter came down in the suburb of Brovary, east of Kyiv. It came down near a kindergarten and a residential building. The governor of the Kyiv region says many people, the staff and children, were in the kindergarten at that time. The crash did cause a fire to break out. We're seeing images of the wreckage and of the mangled debris of cars and trees. Now, then emergency workers on the site and that rescue operation is going on. We're getting reports that it was dark and foggy at the time of the crash, and initial reports suggesting that the helicopter did indeed hit the kindergarten before it came down near the residential building.
Now, Sonia, the Interior Minister, who was among those killed in this crash, is, in fact, the most senior Ukrainian official to have died since this war began. What's the likely impact this will have on Zelensky's government?
Well, I think it's too early to say what impact that could have. Right now, we have few details. There is no indication that this helicopter was shot down. Everything suggests that this was, indeed a tragic accident. Now, there have been some reactions from Ukrainian officials posting on social media, calling the loss of this interior minister a loss for Ukraine. We haven't heard from President Zelenskyy himself, but the news will come as a blow to his government. As Ukraine kind of presses Western allies to provide more powerful weapons for a potential, anticipated Russian offensive, and as the war, approaches its first-year anniversary.
That was DW's correspondent in Kyiv, Sonia Falnikar. Sonia, thank you so much. Well, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has now given a statement on the crash. He called it a terrible tragedy. And meanwhile, Zelenskyy's government is pushing to acquire more heavy weapons from Western allies to defend against Russia's invasion. Here in Europe, the focus is on the delivery of battle tanks, which Kyiv says are a crucial part of its strategy to make progress on the battlefield.
There's no clear picture of the active frontline in eastern Ukraine, only pieces of a puzzle. This piece shows Ukrainian soldiers launching rockets towards Russian forces near the strategic city of Bakhmut.
The situation is tense. The Russians are creeping into Bakhmut. They're attempting a breakthrough. We won't allow them this. We'll do everything to support our infantry. We strike our targets with power and hit with precision. I believe that with God's help, we'll win.
But divine favor isn't the only thing Ukrainians say they need to decide this battle or the war.
What do we need? Those weapons in our partners' depots, which our troops are waiting for.
Chief amongst those needs, modern battle tanks, like the British Army's Challenger 2. On Saturday, Britain promised to give 14 of them to Ukraine, breaking a long-standing Western taboo and amping up the pressure on other countries to follow suit, namely Germany, the producer of the long sought-after Leopard 2 tank. It's a battle tank regarded as one of the best in the West, and Germany could authorize its export in numbers some say could decide the war. Others disagree, the Kremlin denouncing Western tank deliveries as insignificant on Monday.
The special military operation will continue, and those tanks will burn just like the others. The goals of the special military operation will be fulfilled.
While heads of state are talking weapons, fighting continues for control of Bakhmut. Every day of deadlock reduces more Ukrainian homes to rubble, and analysts say there's been little change to the front line of this war. Kyiv hopes that battle tanks are the missing piece of the puzzle that will change the game.
Let's bring in DW's chief political correspondent, Nina Haase, for more on this. So, Nina, now that we have this British pledge, is Germany going to be able to maintain its position on not delivering heavy tanks?
Well, Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor, has repeatedly said that any decision on further weapon supplies could only be taken in close coordination with allies. And of course, that argument for holding back those tank deliveries has started to sound less convincing because of the British pledge, but also because of the calls from allies like Poland to jointly send Leopard 2 tanks. Now, many here in Berlin are speculating that the Chancellor would move if he received backing from the US. And of course, if Washington decided to send combat tanks itself. And US President Biden and Olaf Scholz, in this context, it's important to note, talked on the phone on Tuesday and said that they discussed effective, sustainable and closely coordinated military support for Ukraine. So many are now speculating that there is a breakthrough in the making.
So you mentioned the Leopard tanks, Nina. Just what would their delivery by Germany to Ukraine mean internationally?
Well, of course, it is a question on the battlefield. It might make a huge difference because they're better armoured and soldiers have a better chance of surviving, even if the tanks are hit. The Leopard 2 tanks are known as being some of the most modern combat tanks that are available at the moment. But politically, too, that'll have consequences. Many are speculating that Scholz has been reluctant so far because of Germany's history during the Second World War, because he didn't want the pictures of German tanks fighting against the Russian army. But of course, there's a lot of pressure on him. So should he give his green light to other countries sending the German-made Leopard 2 tanks, or should he even join the coalition and send Leopard 2 tanks from Germany? That would also mean that criticism would no longer focus on him so much. And that, of course, would mean that he could also concentrate on other topics also in the public domain.
Well, for his part, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy has expressed his expectation that the World Economic Forum in Davos would have to send a signal for heavy arms deliveries to his country, also including from Germany. Nina, how likely is that?
Well, you do have to keep these two issues apart, right? There is the issue, Germany has to give its consent if other countries like Poland want to send Leopard 2 tanks. Simply because they're German-made, Germany will have to say that's okay. And this is something where Olaf Scholz's own deputy has said that Germany shouldn't stand in the way. And if indeed a breakthrough is in the making, and if indeed the US is backing Germany there, then Scholz might use the next opportunity to announce this next step. And so that could well happen at Davos. But then the other question, will Germany itself join that coalition, send combat tanks themselves? That's a lot unclearer.
That was DW's chief political correspondent, Nina Haase. Nina, thanks so much. We appreciate it.